Welcome to the Corner Public. We don't have any money left. Or do we? Alright guys, welcome back. Man, it's been bloody out there. But it is a good time to buy, so we want to talk about that. We'd like to start off by just shouting out Kaspa. Like, it's been holding up.
Kaspa.
Yeah, it's been holding up great. It's been outperforming Bitcoin during this drop. What do you guys think about Kaspa outperforming Bitcoin and really just the market as a whole?
Well, for one, that's a good thing to see. It's no secret that we still believe Kaspa is going to be the #1 performer of this cycle, and maybe potentially into the future as well. And to actually see it performing well, actually better than kind of the #1 big dog in the space is good.
Yeah, a couple months ago, I consolidated a lot of my bags into Kaspa, and I'm so glad I did. If you look over the past 90-day chart, Kaspa has steadily gone up, while most cryptos have fell off, altcoins 40, 50, 60%. So I think Kaspa is going to be the Solana of this cycle.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like you were saying, like, if you've got an 80% portfolio of Kaspa, this was barely a dip. I mean, what did we take, like a 25%, like at the worst, I think it was? Did it go lower?
I mean, it went back to 13 cents from 21 cents.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was like for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So it definitely took a hit, but it's already back up to 17 cents almost.
Yeah,
So
that would have been a really good time to buy. So if you guys are thinking about swapping into something like Kaspa, maybe it's a good time. Who knows? We're not financial advisors. We're just telling you what we're doing.
some real bullish news yesterday. Binance made an announcement that they have a mining pool for Kaspa now. So
That is good.
we're thinking that's how they're going to stack some Kaspa for their spot listing. So that was real bullish.
Yeah, one graph we don't have ready, but it's the hash rate. It's been constantly growing, and usually hash rate precedes price. So hopefully we'll see some price action, assuming that the market as a whole kind of bounces back from this. So we do have a looming recession.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes as well. But what happened this past week is not anything new. This has happened several times in the past. If you're new, if this is your first complete bull run like it is ours, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. But this also shows you that this is a mental game as well. One, it's a mental game. Two, don't over-leverage yourself, and then you won't be so scared.
Right.
And then obviously, three, pick good plays, get good project. That's why we talk a lot about Kaspa.
Yeah. You don't want to be the guy selling at the bottom, thinking that the bottom's going to fall out, and then it makes the recovery like it just did. That would not be a good feeling, chasing to get back into a position at a higher price than you sold. So let's jump over and take a look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart. So this, when you look at it on a chart like this, all you feel is like blood in the streets. But look where we're at. We're coming back down. Last time we were here was early this year. So we're back in the buy range. So, like, great time to stack Bitcoin at these lower risk levels. We still have plenty of time. We've got interest rate cuts coming. So if you look and see the bigger picture, I know it's scary right now, but just kind of zoom out and just, what's coming. All of these positive things are on the horizon. So if you can just weather the storm, there will be some rewards.
Michael Saylor just is about to buy another. How much was it?
I saw that, yeah.
A lot of Bitcoin. He's about to make a purchase order for MicroStrategy, so that's more bullish news. There's a lot to be positive about. I mean, over the past 2 days, I felt it too. I was like, is this it? Is it over? And I mean, we're back already. So
yeah,
we're looking to get above 59K on Bitcoin to start heading up higher, but I think it'll be there before the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, if we happen to dip down into this lower risk band, it's showing that we could go as low as 37. The entry on this band is 49,000. So if it does go there, it's going to be scary for a lot of people, but, try to have some dry powder on the side, maybe scoop up some plays. I personally think this is where we're going to see Bitcoin really outperform the market because it's a much lower risk asset than the other altcoins out there. So people kind of de-risk, and that's what I'm doing right now is I'm de-risking out of some of my, riskier altcoins. And some of those have not been performing well, so I think now's the time to rip off the Band-Aid, kind of put those plays into things that I know are going to do better and are relatively safer.
Yeah, and zooming out, man, it's always such a good thing to do. If you zoom out, you look at where we're at right now, you look at, last time we almost made it to that red channel, which would be what this time around, like 200 plus $1,000 Bitcoin. Well, let's look at the orange.
Let's take it out to even at April of 2025, we're looking at a $750,000 Bitcoin.
What's the orange band?
Orange band is right around 400,000. Okay. So what I've noticed in the past is in the previous cycles, it usually drops down 2 bands on the logarithmic regression band here. So like this one to this one is about 2 bands. This one to this one is about 2 bands. So if we go from this orange down to say here, we're looking at 300 to 218,000. So realistically, we could come over that 150,000 target that I have. I'm going to play it conservative.
Right.
But I mean, this thing is pretty tried and true. It follows this so far to a T.
Yeah. And mentally, how I look at these times is, it's good for the market to breathe. Yeah, sometimes for it to allow us to do that, it takes pain. And yeah, we're feeling some pain right now, but these things don't just go up forever. And sometimes they drastically go down like we saw a few days ago. But I think having a long-term strategy and, our goal obviously is to make as much money, but we also want to make as much money as we can in the long-term tax bracket. We want to ease that tax burden, and these kind of events have to take place to extend this bull run we're going to have. So the only positive way to look at things like this is just like that these events have to take place to extend the market cycle, to make things longer, and with that comes pain. But I think that what we just saw is going to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I guess we got to find the silver lining because it was on a tear, when that ETF came out, and that was not sustainable. It felt great, but really it needed something like this to extend that cycle out into next year, when we can have a fully developed market. Like, we need those rate cuts. That's what's really going to push us to the peak, into those bands that we're targeting, in my opinion.
Right.
Let's jump over. I've seen some people talking about the volatility index for the S&P 500. So I've drawn a couple little lines here to catch your eye. So we currently, this is a chart of the volatility in the market, and we are up near pandemic highs. So this was 2020, March of 2020, and we're not crazy far away from that. So this could be near enough to the end of volatility. If you look back at the financial crisis, it did go higher than the COVID, the pandemic stuff. So I mean, we could go further definitely, but I mean, look at what we've already taken care of. That the Band-Aid for the most part has been ripped. It could be a slow bleed, it could be a fast bleed, who knows? But I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at. I wouldn't expect that it would go much higher than the COVID pandemic. So
if you're coming in the market right now, you should consider yourself extremely lucky, because if you'd been coming in over the past 3 or 4 months back in February, March, when everything was so hot, you would probably be down quite a bit on most of your bags. But if you're coming in now, I mean, it's a great opportunity to start the bull run.
Yeah. So say you guys have some cash on the sidelines, or say you don't have any position or anything. would you like lump sum in right now, or would you kind of dollar cost average, and if you do dollar cost average, over what period of time? What are you thinking on that?
Yeah, I would say at least 30% of any dry powder I have would go straight into Kaspa, and ideally over the past couple of days, when it was in the 15 cent range. But Kaspa in particular has been developing for a while. We mentioned the Binance pool and all these other KRC20s coming, so all these things are still coming. So I know people have said it over and over, last chance, last chance, last chance. Well, that's going to come true sooner than later, I would say. I don't want to say exactly when. I've always said around the September-ish time frame is when I thought that we were going to get one of those big listings where things were just really going to start to take place. So we just hit August, so it's really coming soon. So
yeah, for me, if I had dry powder on the side, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now is I've got my eye on a few altcoins that I'm interested in. I'm gonna dollar cost average on a weekly basis. My target is about 2 months, so I'm doing about an eighth on each DCA, and I'm going to try to get in my dry powder because I think September is when rate cuts are coming, if not before. They've talked about even an emergency meeting to start cutting the rates because of like all the recession indicators that are starting to light up. People are getting very scared in the market.
Yeah,
so they know it's time to start doing something.
I think once they cut the rates, that's going to be the start.
Yeah, I think that'll be the gasoline on the fire that really takes it off. Then we've got the election coming up. Both sides, regardless of where you stand on it, are kind of posturing more pro-crypto. So that's good. Obviously, Trump is the more pro-crypto. We try to stay a little bit out of the politics on here, but if you're a single issue voter, he does seem to be more favorable on that.
Yeah. And what's the chances that they don't cut rates? Do you think? Do you think it's 50-50? Do you think it's leaning one way to the other? What do you think on the chances?
So right now, you can look at the live prediction data on the Fed website, their economic data page, and right now the entire market, I think it's probably like 98 or maybe higher % likelihood of a cut in September. They're often wrong. These are people gambling. So, of course everybody wants a rate cut sooner than later, but I think we're at that tipping point. We've started to see jobless claims coming in higher. So unemployment's ticking up. I don't think we're going to make any major improvements on inflation between now and when those unemployment numbers get basically out of hand. I think they're coming in September, maybe October. But I'm thinking they're not going to start with a 25 basis cut or a basis point cut. I think they're going to have to go a little higher, like at least 50 basis points.
Get aggressive.
I think so. Some people are calling for a full 100 basis points. I think that's a little too bullish.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, as far as this macro look at the economy, we get rate cuts, how aggressive, even some push in that direction. Aside from politics, Trump is way more bullish for crypto. Period. So without holding back on any kind of unforeseen regulations, and if we have somebody in leadership that we know is more bullish on crypto, then it's like Dustin said, if you're a single issue voter, take that in consideration because Trump is more bullish for crypto.
Yeah, RFK also.
RFK is
very. He's the most bullish probably, but I don't really think he has a chance. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, if I have some dry powder, I'm probably gonna try to use it all before September. I mean, I think the rate cuts are coming, and like I said earlier, I think that's when the fire's gonna get lit, and we're gonna start going up from there.
Yeah.
That would be what I would do. I mean, probably 25% a week until September.
Yeah.
But that would be what I did.
Yeah. Also, we want to draw a couple comparisons to Solana. So we're looking here back at 2020 at Solana, and kind of talk on what you were talking about earlier on that.
Well, I think that Solana is always a good base case to look at when we're comparing, for example, Kaspa, how it acted last cycle, and comparing that to how Kaspa could potentially act, and also Solana this cycle. And just talking in terms of what just happened with the big dip we just had, Solana went for in about the same time frame in 2020 in the fall. Solana went from $4 ish all the way back down to $1.43. So if you could imagine, if you were in the market at that time, and you were probably pretty daggum scared, I would say. You're like, oh my God, this is not good. And who would have thought that it would have went all the way up to $250 in 9 short months? I just wanted to point that out to say, we still are in a bullish situation. We are going to, I believe, see very, very good gains, and I think this is just part of the process, and just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, if you were holding, at a little over $2, and then it retraced, down around $1.30. Even like right here, we had like $1.42, and it retraced down to 80 cents. That's you're sitting there thinking like, what is this thing gonna do? And if somebody told you while you're holding at 80 cents, this thing's going to $200, you'd be like, no way. Right. It's not gonna happen. Maybe 20, 30. And then it goes on to put in this crazy run during the bull cycle, and it makes that look like speed bumps,
Yeah, and I think that another reason why Solana is in my opinion, a good case study for Kaspa. Obviously we think Kaspa is better technology, so on and so forth, but at the time there was nothing built on Solana like it is now, similar to Kaspa. We've got KRC20 coming out. At the time, last bull run, Solana was pretty much speculation about what it could be, this and that, and that's what ran it up to $250. So
it was basically Cardano. Like Cardano is just a layer one. Yeah, people can build on it, but nobody's building on Cardano. It on hype alone went up to $3. Yeah. Just because you could build. As soon as they started deploying stuff, we're getting real close to the end of the bull market there, so it fell off. Nobody's building on Cardano, but it just goes to show you, like, it's hard to pick the winners, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you get a good quality altcoin like Kaspa, like Solana, you gotta weather that storm and hopefully be paid off, for your patience. Yeah. So here we've got Ethereum. We went from like 284 down to like 84. What a dip that would be if you're holding that during the pandemic drop. That would sting. And then you just go to see what it did after that. And so this could be something like this. We're looking at a 40% drop, and then a 70% drop during the pandemic. We're currently looking, from the highs, what was that, a few weeks ago, about a 46% drop to where we are now. We're getting a little bounce there. So that's right in line with what you would expect as you're kicking off a bull market, because the bull market dips are brutal. And I've heard that, but until you go through one, you don't know what it feels like.
Yeah.
Because right here, you're thinking, do I need to sell and get back down when when it comes down to sub $1,000? Wow. Your mind's racing. You've got to have a lot of conviction on your plays. That's why it's very beneficial to have the good quality altcoins instead of those $50 million market caps that are dropping down sub 10 million right now.
Yeah. And then people lose. If it's not a quality play, you can lose your audience. You can lose faith. People can say, kind of like we discussed, one of our strategies is consolidating, and a lot of people are going to have that strategy. So it's very important, and you should probably have already been thinking about this. What are the winners? What do I think are the winners? Holding 20, 30, 40 coins, I think at this point, you're going to see diminishing returns. And so if you haven't, take some time to really think about what are the fastest horses, what are the safest horses, what's going to be the best place, because it's about time to think about that.
Yeah, we're getting close to a recession. De-risk is kind of the name of the game right now. So also want to talk pretty quickly on the SOM rule. We're no economic guys, but this is the SOM rule is it basically tracks all states, kind of their economic situation, and individually they can flag recession. But this chart is for the country as a whole, and we've recently crossed over that threshold. And historically, this thing is really accurate. It can it calls recessions. It finds those very well, and it's historically accurate. So that did just trigger. So that's something to be aware of. As far as like monitoring tops, I don't think we're anywhere near a top. I think we've got a long way to go. One thing that we're watching is the Pi Cycle top indicator. And even though we're bullish on Kaspa, the market's driven by Bitcoin, so it makes sense to watch and see when your top's in on Bitcoin. Do y'all have a strategy like for when you plan to exit based on like top indicators?
Well, I think looking at this is once that yellow and green line kind of start to merge, historically that's told us it's time to kind of be watching. So I don't think we're there yet, and you can only kind of, as far as you're looking at data, you can only assume that the data is correct, I guess. I mean, I'm no analyst, but we have a couple things we're looking at, and this is one of them. So I think it'd be smart to kind of once that yellow and green start to kind of merge, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
It's getting close.
getting close.
Yeah, so if we would have continued this uptrend here, you can see that yellow line is coming up quick. So had we gone much higher, we could have gotten really close to this. So it could be a good thing that we're kind of kicking the can down the road a little bit. All right, this is also the 200-week moving average. So if we come down to our current 200-week moving average, we're talking about a $37,000 Bitcoin. It could happen. What do y'all think?
I don't think we'll get that low. Obviously it's possible, but we got down. What was the low? We got 48 or 49 on Sunday, something like that.
49, I think.
49.
49.
7, okay, and it bounced off that pretty hard.
It did bounce, yeah.
So whether or not that was a dead cat or whatever, and now we're going to go back up to 50 or 60 and then see the real dip, who knows? But
Who knows?
what if that's the case, then that's I'm okay with it, because we have I have a long-term strategy. I think we have a long-term strategy. So
All right. Do you guys want to throw out maybe one altcoin pick for the viewers? Maybe your favorite one to buy during this dip? I think we could call it a crash. This has been a crash and not so much a dip.
I'll go first. Ponky meme coin. It got down to a level it hasn't been down to in quite some time. I think its all-time high was about 70 cents, and it got down to the mid-20s. So that would have been a great time to buy. It's bounced a little bit from then, but still 50% down from its all-time high.
Yeah.
Aside from Kaspa, I would say Turbo. Turbo's in a good buy zone. I think that Turbo is still going to be probably, I would say, top 3 performing meme coins this cycle. I think Ponky is as well. So yeah, if you don't have any Turbo and you got a little bit more risk, you want to add to your portfolio, look at Turbo.
Yeah. Ponky and Turbo are great. Those are going to be awesome this cycle, I feel like. As far as me for a utility coin, I'm looking at BitTensor Tau. I think it's a really great buying opportunity. It has been beaten down, and I think it's going to be a solid play for the coming bull run. So I think that's all we got for you. If you have any questions, post them down in the comments. Shoot us your questions. We'll try to answer those live. Let us know what you're doing during this crash. How are you handling it? And we will see you on the moon.
Get along, little dog.